Brendt Findley, Bernard Weiser, and Sanaa Kelley are the Ted Lasso sound editing team. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby, and I'll start off by asking you, Brent, how does the teamwork dynamic go on the sound team?
Oh, it's one of the most collaborative work environments that I've been in. And that comes top down, just from even Jason Sudeikis' approach, which is a good idea can come from anywhere. So everybody's voice is on the table as far as ideas on how to approach things, or how to make things better, augment a scene or something. So just having that spirit of collaboration just opens the door for so many possibilities and so many solutions. So it's great.
Yeah. Sanaa, you also you were talking to me before we started recording about how also maybe more so than even how some other shows work, there's collaboration not just amongst the sound team, but with the sound team and the picture editors and the different departments come together on this show to produce the finished product. Yeah. How does that work?
Before we never met, my experience, I never met picture editors, but with Ted Lasso, it's everyone, Brent said, we all kind of work together. So we got to meet the picture editor, Melissa and AJ. And, when I met them, I just, I was telling you earlier, I had to thank them for paying attention from cut to cut to the footsteps, because a lot of editors, they don't pay attention to that. And I'm always, when I'm walking, I'm like, it's another bad cut. We got to do it, So when you're walking from cut to cut, it's right, left. And some editors would do left and right after it, and they're not counting the steps. So a lot of times I'm sitting there thinking, well, do I cover this on the A cut or the B cut? Where do I put it? And a lot of times I'll try to squeeze a foot in between. And so it's not in sync with the A or the B cut. But in this, both our editors are incredible, and they really paid attention to that. So I didn't have to do that. So I could walk my character smoothly, get into character without worrying about, scene to scene, are they going to mess up for me? And they don't. So, they didn't let us fix it in post. They fix it in their end.
Bernard, what are the types of things that is important that you as a sound team get right on the show?
Well, number one is chemistry, for sure. I mean, you're hearing this theme through it, and it's so true. And it's interesting that the whole storyline of Ted Lasso deals with the group and the relationships and the way they work as a team together. And it has gone over into this crew, and we just happen to come together with a great chemistry. So that helps with this collaboration. It's a case where 2 + 2 can equal 10. And I think it's like Brett was saying, it comes from the top down. Apple's been very supportive. If we need an extra day or something, there's never a pushback towards such a thing. It's what we need to get it done. Certainly, I don't know the relationship directly with Jason, if that has something to do with that dynamic, but they've been very supportive up and down. And I think the way the details come out for myself working with the mixers, learning, it took a while in the first season to gain that communication back and forth, what I was doing, what they need to do to get the best possible sound. And that communication was there from the first day. There wasn't pushback to what one was doing, just wondering how that was going to go, and then just working it out. And again, a back and forth communication, which makes it work, especially in a show as complicated as this, especially on my part with the dialogue. You have so many different characters. Very often you have ensemble scenes, and sorting that out is very important, and really is what gives the great quality sound that we get from Ted Lasso.
Yeah, but what is that so focusing on the dialogue aspect, can you think of a particular scene or moment from season 2 where, it all came together particularly well, the dialogue, or maybe even was a bit tricky to get working and it was very satisfying when it all came together?
Boy, there's a lot of shows like that, but I know we're concentrating kind of on the episode that we're looking at with his Baird's journey here.
Yeah.
Beard's journey. But any scene, a scene that sticks out, and I forgot if it's one or two. There's a church scene, and it's at a funeral, and all the women in Ted Lasso are getting together, and they're all getting excited, and their voices are going all over the place. Yet you're supposed to concentrate on the story that's going through the middle of all this. So, and this is typical of many, many scenes when you have all this activity from an ensemble cast of characters, but you have to focus on the important parts that are guiding us through the story. So it's, excuse me, not wanting to lose any of the quality of what's going on, that we hear all the characters, but our focus is still on the main lines, the main through story of it all. And I think that's the challenge, is just keep that quality there, keep the excitement there, but understanding the story and following it through with it.
Mm. Brent, like with let's focus on that Beard After Dark episode, and because it's sort of why, like, you know, it's such an eclectic sort of bizarre, wonderful journey through London from the perspective of this character that we don't often see much of the personal life of. We hear things here and there, so it's a lovely episode in that sense. But you know, there's big dance scenes in nightclubs. There's also quiet walks through the city. As a sound editor, what is sort of more important, the quiet moments or the loud moments?
I mean, it's so situationally dependent. I mean, this episode is, like you said, it's a journey across London and across Beard's psyche. Every I think it's less than 6 minutes, we're in a completely different place, and he's experiencing something completely different. It could be the quiet moment as he's getting his pants repaired. It's a personal conversation. He's by himself in Piccadilly Square. Do we play the sounds of the city? Do we play the bus going by? You know, all those questions are based on what the story is asking for. If we're in Beard's head, or it's a very emotional moment, we might be very subtle with the concrete environment around him, and maybe let the score or the example, or what's in his head. Like when he's walking through Piccadilly Square, he's seeing this flashback of mistakes out on the pitch from the prior episode, which is what he's trying to process this. So what of that? Do we play any of that that's up on the big advertising screens? So it's very situational. So if we're in his head, we're going to probably back off some of that stuff. In the fight, in the I guess you'd call it the catacombs, wherever they're at, and he's getting what he just feels he justly deserves, which is getting his butt kicked. That was very subjective as far as when do we play an impact, when do we play a punch. Sanaa and her team covered all of that, all of footsteps and everything, is at some point it all needs to be there, and then that allows us to play with it and decide what comes through. The key coming out of Beard's pocket and landing, the pipe ringing out, all of the things become very subjective, because that's what that scene, it's all in Beard's head. So in the sense of the experience, this visceral experience he's having is described by what that soundscape is doing for us. So, and then there's other places he walks into the hotel lobby to talk to the gentleman about borrowing his phone, and all that's very concrete. You hear the doors open, the slide of the phone on the countertop that, you know, Sanaa did with her team, that dialogue back and forth, which is one of my favorite scenes. Every 5 minutes is my favorite scene in that episode, but just the interaction, there's all these little gems hidden in there, and I think that hotel clerk is amazing. So, but he's got a lot of dialogue that comes fast, and you have to understand it. And Bernard is very good at getting in there and massaging those transitions between takes, because it's not all one continuous take that we're hearing. So there's different places it slides back and forth between sync and then alt take. So I don't know if that answers the question. The answer to the question is every 5 minutes is a different answer.
Yeah. And Sanaa, you do the Foley work for the show, which is capturing how to make the sounds that we hear from that Beard After Dark episode. What was the most sort of difficult challenge for you in creating a sound?
So the most for that beard episode, I would have to say we went back and forth with Brent with the keys. The keys were like that kind of like part of the storyline that Brent will elaborate a little bit more on this, how he went into the music and everything. But we had, before the show, Brent already knew, before we had that episode, Brent already knew we're gonna have those keys, and they're literally key to our episode. So we had to work. We were on the phone. I was sending him samples to see which sound would work best. So so I have we had to use like a skeleton key with another key because we needed to have a certain ring to it, a certain tone. And the skeleton key couldn't be too light, it couldn't be too heavy, and we still needed the ring, just the perfect sound. So I have a lot of props, and I went through every skeleton key and it didn't work. I ended up going to an antique shop and found this old, like different sizes, and they were heavy. So then I had to go get, I went to Home Depot, had to get like wire cutters to open the big ring, and kept trying different ones. And when we got the perfect one, send it to Brent, and he's like, yes, that's it. So, and then you could, talk about how you were able to use it. So as I'm sending him this, I have no idea that he's tying it to music. And that's when I'm like, it's a key, but then there was a reason behind it.
Yeah, and that's part of the collaboration. That was so important to get that right. The key mechanism as a story mechanism, I think, shows up 7 or 8 times throughout the episode. The first time is when we go to Beard's apartment door for the first time. He pulls it out. Seems like not a big deal, right? That's what you do. You pull your keys out of your pocket, you open the door, you put it in the bucket inside the door, and go about your business. And then the keys progressively become more prominent. You don't even think about the keys that first shot. The next time we see it, he's in the bar, he pulls his hand out of his pocket, and that ring that Sanaa is talking about, that's the first time we hear this little zing. It's just a little ring out as they fly through the air and then chunk, hit the ground. And that starts this whole story where the hoodlums come and sit down, the 3 of them talk to Beard, and he gives them his philosophy, and then the night is off to the races. And it comes up several times. There's another time where he's in the character Red, who sews up his pants. He's in her apartment. She says, "You dropped your keys." Oh, and he bends down and picks them up, and we hear him pick the keys up, but we'd never heard the keys come out and fall. That was very intentional because we're with Beard. That would pull us out of being with Beard if we heard the keys, but he didn't when they landed. So so that's one of the times where we choose that subjective moment of, at this point, we're not going to play the concrete world of his keys falling out because we want to be with Beard at that point. We're hearing his perspective. And then in that, the fight scene, Marcus Mumford does a very mournful rendition of Blue Moon. And it's just heart-wrenching and beautiful at the same time. And so we pitched the key ring at that moment to be complementary to the music instead of fight it. So they play very well together. And that could be a note in the song, the way that key rings out. So, and that's, thanks to Sanaa's intent and concentration on performing those keys the way we needed them.
That's very cool. So we love our awards at Gold Do. We're an awards site, and Ted Lasso at the Emmys last year did very well. Won, I believe, 7 Emmy awards. Won Best Comedy Series, the big prize, and that's sort of nice because it's that's the award that is really acknowledgement for anyone who works on the show in any category. And Best Comedy, everyone's contributed to that. However, you guys also got nominated for Best Sound Editing for your work on the season final of season 1, I believe. The sound mixers from Ted Lasso were also nominated for the episode, and they won their category. So what happened, guys? What?
I think that you had another show that was very deserving as well. And when it comes from nomination to actually winning an award, boy, that becomes a big mystery. It's a different step. whether it be politics, whether it be the mood of the general membership. It's hard to say. It's really, I think, reflective of your quality is that nomination. I know this sounds kind of really trite to say, and people say it all the time, but there's some truth with the process of it. You really get your recognition that way in terms of the quality of the show. The final win is that's a fickle thing in all the different awards that the different organizations give. That final step is a tough one.
Yeah. And the at least the show that beat you guys in sound editing wasn't nominated in the sound mixing category, so maybe that helped them out. But fantastic, yeah. But is there a bit of competitiveness between the sound editors and the sound mixers?
No.
Oh,
No.
Not at all.
No, it is. You were happy for them.
And we're connected at the hip too. It's like,
Yeah.
which is why what's interesting, the mixers were very gracious with that. When they accepted the award, they acknowledged all of us, and it's a combination. If sound editing wins, well, there's a portion of that that's due to the mixing. If mixing wins, there's a portion of that due to the sound editors. I mean, we're very much connected, which is, they're different crafts, but I understand, like the Academy that has decided to put it together as to one. We are connected, but they are different perspectives and different crafts that do different things. But it's all a lineage that has to work together.
Yeah, and I imagine sound editing the mixers can make the sound editing better, and the sound editors can make the sound mixing better, I imagine. No, very good. What do you each have a favorite moment from Ted Lasso from either of the two seasons? Sanaa, I'll start with you.
Favorite moments. It's so hard to pick with Ted Lasso. Let's see. I did love, just the beard episode alone, I have to say I had favorite moments, because there's so many, like Brendt was saying, from cut to cut, you have different feels. So you go from running to walking. Like, I think when Beard was walking with Red, they're walking down together. She invited him to her place. That was a really cool moment, because even mixing for us, like, Matt was doing my Foley partner. He was doing the woman in heels, and I was doing Beard's footsteps, which usually is, people see us and like, well, why don't you do the woman? Why didn't you do the man? I sound bigger than him for some odd reason. So I do the man, he does the women. So it was really sweet to play her kind of like sexy shoes, walking away. We're using the far mic, so the close mic, if she's walking away and then he's behind her, we put, again, he goes and you have to put that confusion and am I going to go to her place kind of thing in the footsteps. So we couldn't do deliberate steps. There was a lot of acting with our feet in that episode. And then, of course, when they were chasing him to beat him, and like, just listening to the story, we were like, well, do we just want to run? Are we confused? Because he feels like he deserves it too. So I always had to add, like, whenever I had a chance, if he didn't see his feet, to put a little scuff to add like the hesitation. Maybe I should get beat up. I deserve this because of what happened in the past. And so we had to play with that too. So like, you know what? No, let me try to put a little scuff there. That there's a moment there for me to do it. And of course, when he was getting beat, he didn't kind of fight back. So we had to let it go, but also kind of protect him, because, he still wants to live. We thought, does he, that, so we had to play that with every moment in Foley. So yeah, I can't pick just one moment. I just loved it all.
But do you have a favorite moment?
Oh yeah, it's got to be the dartboard scene. It's towards the end of season 1, and I think it just epitomizes Ted Lasso's thinking. It epitomizes life, a positive view of life, and it just speaks to so much of what Ted Lasso is and why we relate to the whole series, which is this connection to life that everybody can connect to, and it has a positive view of it, even though all the tough choices and the tough side of life hits all these characters. Yet Ted always has a way of spinning it in a positive way. It's like a type of thinking that we all aspire to do, and this dartboard scene just epitomizes all of it.
And Brent?
Uh, there's so many. I'm going to talk like Bernard. I'm going to talk from like the arc of my favorite moment in the story as opposed to sound, because there's so many sound moments. You know, that I couldn't pick a specific sound baby and call it my favorite. My favorite story moment was in season 1. Rebecca has just been confronted by her ex who just dropped the bombshell that he and his girlfriend are expecting a baby, and he just didn't want a baby with her. And her world turns at that moment. She turns physically, goes down the stairs in this slow motions down the stairs, walks through the locker room, goes into Ted's office and confesses, and he forgives her. And to me, that's like very much like the dartboard story that epitomizes the whole world we're living in. And Hannah's performance, I mean, that performance itself is Emmy winning. Forget the season and series as a whole. That one performance right there should get her an Emmy. So the emotion that she brings out and the trip that we go on with her in that. And a neat part about that is in season 2, she comes into his office and confesses again, but this time it's about her relationship with Sam and some other things going on. And so he says, making a habit of this. So I'm looking forward to season 3 to see if about that same point in the season, do they have another meeting in his office?
What's Rebecca going to do this season?
What does she have to confess to? Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, guys, thank you so much for chatting with us today. People can go to goldderby.com to make your own awards predictions and watch other interviews with award contenders. And hey, best of luck for the Emmy season 2 in the sound mixing category and for best comedy series.
Thanks,
hey, why not the sound editing category too?
Yeah,
your category might be nice as well. All the best.